Awesome, folks. Welcome, welcome. Hello, and thank you for joining us for our session, SEO Basics to Grow Your Website. Apologies for the technical issue that we had. Thank you all always for the grace with that. My name is Daniel Anzueto, and I'm happy to welcome you to today's session. If this is your first time attending one of our workshops, let me provide some context on Startup. Startup accelerates the growth of the LGBTQ plus community to drive our economic empowerment, building a world where every LGBTQ plus entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. I'm excited to introduce our host today, Ryan from Rex Marketing, who's going to be taking us through our session. Ryan, take it over.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much, Danny. So everyone, I'm Ryan Ward. I'm the co-founder of Rex Marketing. I'm also on the local programming board of Start Out in Austin. So for anybody who's the Austin folks, hopefully maybe you've seen me around, or maybe we'll see you at a next Start Out event in person. But today we're going to be talking about SEO basics to grow your website. And I'll be transparent. This is going to be a very basics kind of laying the groundwork of SEO for people who maybe you need to be thinking about it, or you need to be prioritizing it for your website or for your business growth, but you just don't know where to start. So we're really going to get down to the basics of what SEO is and the fundamentals to perform well in terms of SEO performance. So first, just quick introduction. As I said, I'm typically based in Austin, Texas. I'm actually calling from Munich right now. I'm traveling across Europe this summer. So anybody who's in Germany, I'm here for the rest of the month. So I was the co-founder of an early stage ed tech company before starting my agency, built through 2019, 2020, 21, and was acquired and exited in 2021. Then went on to be head of growth at a mental health startup, a telehealth company offering telehealth services. At the time when I joined the company, was only offering services in New York State, and then grew that company across all 50 states to serve clients through telehealth. So mainly utilized SEO efforts and content strategy for a lot of the growth we had at that company. And we come with a lot of extensive experience, as I mentioned, in the education and healthcare space. A little bit just about what my agency does. So we work mainly with early stage startups, specifically in consumer healthcare space. So again, I come from the mental health care, telehealth care space. So we work with clients in the geriatric care, mental health care, anything where a individual is trying to get in front of consumers. So B2C space when it comes to the work we do. SEO, content marketing, web development. That's kind of our main focus for our business. But first, just to go ahead and jump in, I know we started a couple minutes behind, and there's a lot of content that I want to cover. So I might be running kind of rapid fire through some information. I'm glad this is recorded. So if you miss anything, feel free to just review the recording post the event. But we're going to start with generally, what is SEO? What is it? Why should you care about it? On-page SEO fundamentals, and then off-page SEO fundamentals. So let's go ahead and just jump in. So what is SEO? So when it comes to search engine optimization, the main search engines I'd say the main search engine that we typically talk about is Google. However, there's a number of search engines out there: Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. However, 91% of all online searches are conducted through Google search. So whenever we talk about optimizing for search engines or talk about SEO in general, we typically talk about optimizing for Google. Google obviously is the main player in the space. And by optimizing for Google, you in turn are optimizing for all other search engines. Most other search engines model after Google search. So just something to call out, I'll mention Google a number of times and Google products throughout the presentation. But again, whenever we talk about SEO, it's optimizing for Google performance specifically. So the importance of SEO. So number one thing is organic traffic. If you're a company where maybe you're running paid ads, you're running Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, whatever the case may be, you often see you have to pay to play in those spaces. You're having to spend more money to get more results or to get more conversions. The best thing about organic traffic and SEO growth and prioritizing it is that it's a long-term strategy of by building these organic traffic funnels, you're not going to have to tie yourself to ad spend or tie yourself to basically spending more money to get more out of it. When it comes to SEO as well, generating backlinks and building up authority and credibility. So, for example, if you get a press feature in Forbes or New York Times or what have you, those backlinks from those media companies help establish your authority and credibility in your subject and in your industry. And then obviously reaching the right people at the right time. I'd say that's the number one thing I always say about Google search and how I like to just boil it down to a basic phrase. If someone's Googling for, telehealth therapist near me, for example, speaking about healthcare specifically, if you're the top result in Google search, you're in front of someone at the right time when they're actively evaluating and looking for a solution to a problem they're facing. And this goes with even outside of healthcare. If you're selling clothing, someone's Googling summer dress for Coachella or what have you. By having a page that's ranking highly and organically in Google search, and you're at the top of search results, when someone's making that search query, they're in the active mindset of looking for a solution, looking for a product, and are obviously more apt to engage with your services or purchase or convert for the business. Generally speaking, we always want to aim for the number one spot in Google search. However, I'd say too, being in the top 10 is also a great place to be. Just a quick stat to call out, like every spot you increase in Google search, getting closer to that number one spot, there's an increase of nearly 32% of clicks. So that's why our main goal is to drive search rankings to increase your position up to the number one spot when it comes to SEO. So when it comes to SEO, there is on-page SEO. The best way I like to describe it, it is the actual content that is on your website. So the text, the formatting, the page speed, things that are directly related to your website, and things that I like to say you have more direct control over. That's how I like to think about on-page SEO. Off-page SEO relates to things that are a little bit less out of your control. For example, backlinks is one of the main things. When it comes to off-page SEO performance, also like social sharing. So if you are producing content that's being shared through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, what have you, those are off-page SEO performance indicators. So basically all that happens off of your website and on another platform or on another website domain that then points back to your website or your website domain. And then local SEO, which we won't talk a ton about today, but local SEO is more pertinent for brick and mortar, in-person offerings, or individual or business with physical locations. However, I will say local SEO does play a part, even if you do have a virtual or a business that doesn't have a local presence, so to speak. There are a few things that we can optimize for that just help your overall SEO performance that still matter even if you don't have brick and mortar, which we'll talk a bit about. So SEO ranking basics. So this is like the bare minimum. Like if you're thinking about how do I improve my website and ensure that my website is set up for success when it comes to an SEO performance. Number one, having a secure and accessible website. So pretty straightforward. Typically everyone kind of checks this box for the most part, especially if you've purchased your domain through, any sort of domain provider out there nowadays. If you purchase through GoDaddy, Squarespace, whatever the case may be, they're going to typically already, opt you into purchasing an SSL certificate, which secures your website. And I'm sure we all know, like whenever we're searching on the internet, we'll see this little lock button in the web browser. That signifies that your website is secure and has an active and valid SSL certificate. So Google will prioritize sites that have purchased that and that are secure, even if you aren't an e-commerce brand. So that's one thing to call out. Even if you aren't really taking card purchases through your website or, collecting that type of information, you really are just have like say a landing page, so to speak. It still does have an effect and it has a large impact if your site is not secure. So definitely, I'd say number one thing to think about. Page speed. So I'm sure we've all had the experience of if you go to click onto a website and there's a delay in load time. We most often, or I can even speak for myself personally, I'll navigate away. I'll try to reload the page. It won't work. I'll navigate away and go to find something else. This ties into the user experience of your website. And if Google notices that there is a poor user experience or like poor page speed load times, it's going to in turn impact your SEO performance negatively. Similar to this in the UX side of things, mobile friendliness. So having a website that's mobile responsive. I'm sure we've all seen the dreaded website where you log onto it and you're on your mobile phone and it has a horizontal scroll effect because the website's not web responsive or not mobile responsive. So those are the types of things that will negatively impact your user experience and in turn the SEO. Especially with the recent updates that Google has released with their AI generative search experience, which maybe people are aware of or have noticed when you're doing Google searches. Google is really prioritizing the UX of websites and so page speed, mobile friendliness, all of this. Domain age, URL, and authority of your URL are all important. Optimizing your content with keywords, technical SEO. So this relates to the actual code on your page, like header tags, etc., which we'll talk a bit about. User experience in general, links internally. So linking internally to other resources, to external resources. Basically, having external links or internal links that point to other locations show to Google that you have a informative piece of content or an informative website. Social signals tie into Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram sharing. So like if someone is reposting your blog post or what have you, those are social signals that tie into your SEO performance. And then real business information, which we'll talk a bit about, which relates to just your address, your name, telephone number, things like that. So first, a couple things that I want to call out before we get into the deep of the content. So there are a few tools that I highly recommend everyone use or adopt after this call today. A lot of these are free, as you'll see here. Google Search Console. It's a completely free to use tool. It's a pretty simple install, pretty simple installation process. It'll take you less than like 5 minutes, truthfully, if you have access and log into your DNS settings into your domain provider. But Google Search Console will show you how your website is performing in terms of search queries, whether it be clicks, volume, click-through rate, your average position, which search queries you're showing up for, etc. So Google Search Console, download it, get it installed tomorrow if you do not have it already. Similar sentiments with Google Analytics. Again, it's a free to use analytics tool that is provided by Google. Provides a number of insightful data points around site traffic, how users navigate across your site, so you can actually view their URL path of, did they land on this page and then they navigate to page B and then page C, page D, and also just give you an understanding of which pages are generating the highest amount of organic traffic. So Google Search Console, Google Analytics, highly recommend those if you're not using them already. I recommend SEMrush as an SEO tool. However, like I'll say as it is, I use SEMrush. I'd say it's like one of the best of the best SEO tools. Depending on your budget and how much you're wanting to invest in SEO efforts, there are lower cost tools out there that have a lower monthly fee. But as someone who's has used a number of them, I recommend SEMrush as having the most robust features and the best data. But SEMrush is a tool where you can conduct keyword research, find opportunities to improve your ranking, generate content ideas like for blog post, content, help with your content strategy, things like that. And then finally, Google page speed insights. This is nothing that needs to be installed. Actually, if you just Google page speed insights, you'll be taken to a free tool where you input your domain of your website, and then Google's going to quickly give you a report on how your site's performing. So it'll give you like, what your site speed is, how quickly your images are loading, what have you. So I'd say that truthfully, I'll say that when it comes to site speed, if you're using an out-of-the-box website builder like Squarespace or Wix or some other of these builders out there that's less robust, this doesn't include WordPress or Webflow. Those are give a bit more room for changing things. But a lot of these out of the box builders where, it's kind of a drag and drop experience, they're already going to be optimized pretty well for site speed. But if you suspect you have any site speed issues or page loads issues, Google Page Speed Insights is a great tool. It's going to tell you exactly what they recommend doing to improve your site speed with almost like a checkbox, so to speak, of what to do. Okay, so on-page SEO fundamentals. So as I mentioned earlier, on-page SEO is what is actually on your website. So this relates to the various front end and back end components, so like the actual text and headers and content that's on your website, as well as the code that is within your pages as well. So the HTML structures and elements and site architecture, what have you. The main things to call out that make up on-page SEO are keywords that are within your content, page titles. Those are the titles of the actual pages on your website. Meta descriptions. Meta descriptions I'll show you an example in just a second, but meta descriptions are what shows in Google search as a little excerpt of what your page entails. Header tags, image alt text, which is the alt text that is shown whenever an image cannot be seen or does not load or what have you. Page URLs, linking internally to other pages, mobile responsiveness, and site speed. Those are the main elements that make up on-page SEO. So first, starting at the top, importance of keywords. I always like to say, like, if you're someone who likes to write, or you are someone who, writing a blog post is no issue for you, it can often feel that maybe you write a blog post or you put something out there and you're like, no one's read it, or it hasn't gotten any views or hasn't gotten any impressions. And I like to say, when it comes to content and blogging and like blog for your company, don't just write to write. That's going to be unless that's like something that gives you a lot of enjoyment, it's not going to pan out for the most part, generally speaking. I like to say, whenever you're doing blogging, it's best to approach it from a very strategic and informative or even just not even just blogging, any sort of content creation from a keyword perspective. So for example, I would conduct keyword research through SEMrush or a similar tool to understand what search terms are actually generating volume. For example, maybe you are the expert in, yellow curtains made of wool, for example, but are people actually Googling that? Are people actually searching for that search term? Maybe they are, but until you actually know that data and understand what kind of volume it could generate for you, there's no point in you creating that blog or that piece of content around that keyword, if that makes sense. So research what keywords you can actually rank for and that are relevant to your brand and your offering and your products. Incorporate those keywords into your page content. So even on your homepage, like make sure that you're, it's probably going to have a lot of brand words and brand terms related to your company, but also find places to incorporate keywords that are related to your brand. So for example, if I am an ed tech solution and I am targeting, for example, DEI, professionals in higher education. I'm going to find opportunities to include DEI related keywords that are relevant, obviously, to my product and to my offering on my homepage as well. So every page on your website is an opportunity to optimize for keywords. Even the homepage, even your contact page, even your book a demo page, all of it, there is opportunity to optimize for keyword relevance. And one thing to call out is you use these keywords. If you find keywords that you're wanting to rank for, try to incorporate them as much as possible throughout the content and throughout the page. So that means your titles, your headers, your meta description, so on and so forth. So long tail keywords to call out. So long tail keywords are keyword phrases that are 3 to 4, at least 3 to 4 words in length. And truthfully, long tail keywords are where the money's at when it comes to SEO. For example, it's going to be, if you're a new brand and you're a new company, it'd be very hard to rank for a short keyword such as, telehealth care. Obviously, that's going to be a highly competitive keyword. Brands that have been around for longer than you are most likely already going to be targeting those keywords or already ranking for those keywords, or it's not going to, and also too, it's so general that it's not going to drive value for your business. The main value with the long tail keywords is that it's getting closer and closer to your ideal customer and your ideal buyer or user for your product. For example, versus saying telehealth care as the keyword we're targeting for, we could then, to take that a step further, get closer to our end user. Let's say that our long tail keyword we're going to target is psychiatrist for telehealth care in Central Texas. That is a long tail keyword phrase. And then obviously, if you are offering services across Texas, for example, with this hypothetical company, you're getting closer and closer to what your end user is looking for. They're located in Texas. They're searching for a geographical location in their search query. They're more apt and willing to use your service or, purchase your product or what have you. So that's the value in long tail keywords. So really, when you think about your keyword strategy and producing new content and, optimizing your existing pages on the website, think about how you can, take obviously the lens of your unique brand, your unique offering. Think about how you can take those keywords that are longer in search query length and target for those with the content and pages you're producing. So page titles and meta descriptions. So just going to talk about these quickly. Page titles are what are shown in search. So this is what, again, you'd want to optimize for keywords in this location for in terms of SEO. And then meta description is this excerpt that is shown underneath the title. So if you have not even touched your meta descriptions or have no clue what that is, this is your first time hearing it, highly recommend going in and optimizing those. So optimizing them for keywords you want to target, content you create, make sure you're incorporating the keywords from that content into your meta descriptions. It's kind of like just one of the check boxes that you need to be ticking when it comes to your SEO to-do list. Guidelines for page titles, and I'm not going to read through all this so we can get going, but just things to call out is around length, making sure it is clear. When it comes to relevancy, so like obviously don't make a clickbait title. You want it to be relevant to the content and relevant to what someone would find fascinating and want to click and view your piece of content or view your offering or your product or what have you. But it's also important to call out that every page should have a unique meta description and a unique page title for SEO performance. So these are the things to think about when it comes to page titles and optimizing for them. For meta descriptions, similar things to think about. Length, there are character limits. As we saw in this example, past a certain character limit, the meta description is cut off. It will not be shown and will not be basically counted when it comes to keywords. So if you're trying to fit, like make an extremely long meta description with tons of keywords, it's not going to matter. Make sure that you keep it underneath these character limits. And explain to someone why would they want to click on your link? Why would they want to click on your website? You know, explain what someone's going to understand or what they're going to learn and get from that piece of content or that page for the listing in Google search. So when it comes to headers and content structure, so when it comes to heading tags, so there's a I love SEO because it's very straightforward, and you know, it can often seem very mystical to a lot of people, like, hey, how do I do this? How do I improve my search performance? But it is so cut and dry in a lot of ways, and it is so straightforward in a lot of ways. For example, when it comes to how to actually properly structure your content and any website on your or any page on your website, you should follow this strict header and content structure. H1 tags or heading ones there will always be one H1 on a page. You will never have two H1 tags on a single page. So that's an important thing to call out. Heading one is like the overarching title of the entire page, or a blog post. That'd be like the blog title. H2 would be like subtitles or subheadings that you would have underneath that first heading. H3 would be, it probably seems pretty self-explanatory, would be the subheading underneath the H2s. And then when it comes to how you go about this, let's say, for example, we have an H2, we have an H3, and then that thought is complete, we would then go back up to an H2. So, for example, H1 is the head, H2, H3, H2, H3, H2, H3, H2, H3, H4, H2, H3, H2, H3. So like that's basically the concept. Once you it's basically how you structure writing in paragraphs. And this is what this is how Google scrapes and crawls a website, understands the structure of your content, and understands the points and the information that you have on your web page. So for example, I mean, Google crawlers they're only as intelligent as the information you provide them. So that's why you want to be as blatant as possible of, this is my heading tags, these are my subheaders, these are the ideas and the points that I'm getting across. So ensure that you're following this heading structure when you're producing content or in any page on your website. So best practice with images. So I mentioned this earlier. It's important for accessibility standards to ensure that your images have alt text. Alt text is what is shown when there's any errors with your page loading. So like, this doesn't happen often, but people may know, like years ago, whenever a page went load on a website, you'd see like the alt text shown, or like with a broken image icon. Also, too, for those with disabilities or sight impairment, if they use a screen reader, screen reader will actually say the alt text of what the image is, since the individual can't see the actual image. When it comes to the alt text, this is also an opportunity for you to optimize them for keywords. So let's say, for example, like we're writing a blog post about yellow curtains, and that's the keyword we're targeting. I'm saying yellow curtains because they're here in front of me. Very random, I know. But say we're targeting for yellow curtains, you would want to include yellow curtains, the keyword we're targeting for, in the alt text as well, for the image on that page. And you'll want it to obviously, you don't want to just optimize for optimization's sake. For example, I would not put yellow curtains for this image because that's not what the image is. So it does matter. Like, don't just crank out a bunch of keywords into an alt text. It's not gonna make a difference. Then page URLs. So this is a bit maybe self-explanatory, but when it comes to page URLs, These also play into your search performance. So for example, that's why I'm sure people have seen, like, if you want to purchase a URL that's like, uh, uh, you know, New York Baker, like that's probably a very expensive domain. Whoever owns it, probably that's a pretty, if they were to resell that domain, it'd probably be pretty expensive. Anything that is tied closely to a keyword someone would be searching for, like if you're targeting, New York bakeries or whatever the case may be, having the URL, like the keywords in the URL does make a difference. So for example, just looking at the structure, we have a subdomain, we have the main domain, we have the directories here. For example, like if we were creating a landing page, let's say that for an industry, like for our product, and we're creating a landing page that's targeting startups, we would want to ensure that the actual permalink in the URL here includes that keyword, for example. Or if we're targeting sales teams, maybe that's what our product is. Maybe we're in the B2B space and our product is being sold into sales organizations. We're going to want to include those keywords we're wanting to target in our page URLs. So again, it's probably making sense. There are so many opportunities to ensure that you're including and incorporating keywords that you want to show up for. URLs, titles, headings, all of it. And then internal linking. So it's very important to link internally to pages. Like I mentioned earlier, let's say, for example, we create a landing page for startups. That's who we're targeting. We've created an industry-specific landing page targeting startups. We want to ensure that that page is linked internally on our homepage. If we want it to actually rank for, if we want to help it rank, I should say, for in Google search organically. So I'm sure we've all seen this when you go to a B2B product page or, a number of companies out there, you'll have like the drop down of the different industries and you'll see all those different industry pages that are linked or all the different use cases that are linked or what have you. As it's pretty common to see this because that's opportunity for internal linking for these pages. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can model this after, the numerous B2B companies or like software solutions that are out there that are already done this, where they've created these industry pages or these use case pages. But incorporating these links internally, whether it be in your header or in your footer for these pages that you want to rank organically, is going to help Google crawlers see them multiple times. So for example, when a crawler comes to your homepage and they see that you've linked to this industry page in your header every time into your footer, it's helping Google get an understanding of like the web of your website. How does it all connect together? Which pages are the most relevant? Which ones are the most pertinent? And so the more opportunities you have to showcase the pages that are most important to your business that can generate the most leads, that's what you should be doing and incorporating them into, like, for example, I say footer and navigation because those are the easiest places to do it for most brands. Mobile responsiveness, we don't need to get too much into this, but obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it's just good for user experience to ensure that your site is mobile responsive and optimized for Android, Apple, etc. So yeah, just ensuring that this is another, again, like a box that's checked on your to-do list, ensuring your site is mobile responsive. And then site speed. So like, as I said earlier, Google cares about user experience first and foremost, especially, again, calling out with their new generative search experience, which maybe you've seen. It's all about the user experience. It's all about prioritizing, helping people find information faster and more efficiently, and having a good experience while doing it. So doing what you can to ensure you don't have any delays in loading time or create a poor experience for your users. Again, I go back to what I said earlier, use Google Page Speed Insights. If you suspect you have any issues with site speed, that's the first place I'd say to go. It'll give you a very quick audit of what needs to be done, how you can improve site speed, and kind of like Google's recommendations of how to rectify the situation. But again, if you're using a simple like Squarespace or Wix or what have you, you generally don't need to worry about this. But if you've built out a custom website or you're using WordPress or Webflow, for example, those are examples of where site speed can come into play because you have more customization that comes into those types of sites versus like using a out of the box builder. So bringing it all together, I know we kind of went rapid fire through things, but I want to call out the things that in my experience of doing this for years of what are the most important that I would say prioritize tomorrow if you're looking to optimize for SEO. Keyword optimization, so optimizing for keywords throughout your page titles, your content on your page, and actually conducting keyword research. It's kind of a crapshoot to try to just create a page willy-nilly and expect it to start to rank. It's important to conduct this keyword research and find opportunities to rank your pages, which industry use cases or what industries can we rank for, what use cases can we rank for, what terms related to our product or offering can we rank for, making sure that you have unique page titles that are relevant, meta descriptions that are optimized, header tags. So again, the H1s, H2s, H3s, ensuring that structure is followed, and then also incorporating keywords into those headers. And then moving further down, again, things that in my experience, view as most important: internal linking, mobile responsiveness, and site speed. Page URLs and image alt text, they do play a role. However, if I had to just categorize the things that are like top priority for anybody, the things I have starred here are what I would highly prioritize. So moving into the off-page side of SEO fundamentals. So off-page SEO, as I mentioned earlier, off-page SEO includes activities that are done outside of your control, so to speak. So this would be like if you got a press release in Forbes, or you got a press release in New York Times, or someone referenced a blog you wrote without you asking for it. Like they found your resource and they referenced it, or your infographic, and they wanted to include your infographic into their piece of content, for example. But these are things that people are doing outside of your website that point back to your website and your domain. Again, another example, sharing on socials. That's another example of things that point back to your website. So what makes up off-page SEO? So backlinks are, I'd say, the biggest portion of off-page SEO performance. They have the most direct impact on how you can improve your off-page SEO performance. Brand signals, and then EAT. So when it comes to backlinks, so something just to call out, and I know backlinks can kind of seem daunting because especially if you're a brand new company or you're a brand new website, you may say, oh, like, how do I get a backlink? Like, nobody knows about me, nobody knows about my product. It is a process of building up backlinks. I'd say that, for example, the scenario I just mentioned, there's the chance that you create a piece of content or an infographic or what have you that's then referenced by another brand or another company when they create a piece of content. That's why content strategy and content creation is so important when it comes to long-term SEO strategy. If you're not producing content, if you're not producing blogs, if you're not producing infographics or one-pagers or case studies or whatever the case may be, no one's going to ever link to you. You have to think about content strategy of, okay, what can I produce that, first of all, is optimized for keyword performance, but then could also potentially be a resource for other writings or other companies or what have you to incorporate into their own writings. For example, that's kind of the way I think about backlink strategy and think about content strategy, I should say, with backlinking in mind. So where I'm going with this is that by backlink.io, the number one result in Google has an average of 3.8 times more backlinks than positions number 1 and number 10. However, that I would say that don't hear that and think that, oh, well, I can't ever be number 1. That's not the case. It's just that backlinks do have a large impact on how you, I'd say, get from, say, number 5 to number 1 or number 7 to number 2. Backlinks are kind of what give that last push over the edge a lot of the times to get to like the number 1 search result. So as I mentioned, backlinks are when other domains link to you. It can be, I'm sure that maybe if any of us use Fiverr or use Upwork or, have Googled, how do I get backlinks? You may see those very scammy offerings of you paying someone $50 or $100 to get some backlinks for your website domain. Do not do that. Quality of your backlinks is more important than the quantity. So a lot of the times when you just for for information around what this actually is, whenever you pay someone for backlinks, like if you say, you found one on Fiverr and someone says, hey, I'll give you 10 backlinks for $50. That typically is going to be 10 links from a link farm, which is actually viewed by Google as a black hat strategy. There's white hat strategies, which are more of like, I'd say, lack of better words, like moral approach to, or less, just more like the right thing to do when it comes to SEO strategy. And then there's black hat strategies, which is more of like the trying to game the system, trying to basically improve your performance by paying more, so to speak. So these link farms are flagged by Google, and if your domain is showing up on these flagged link farms regularly and on multiple occasions, you can actually ultimately hurt your domain authority, and you will actually be flagged by Google by appearing on these link farms. So again, just a word of caution: do not pay anybody for backlinks, especially if they're I'd say paying for a guest post or paying for a sponsored blog is different, but just handing over someone, a sum of money to in return get like 50 links or whatever the case may be, it's not going to pan out well in the long term for your domain, because it can ultimately impact your domain negatively. So as I mentioned earlier, focus on creating informative content that could be referenced by other brands when it comes to thinking about backlink strategy. Broken link building. This is a bit tedious, and truthfully, unless you're a larger company that has a lot of time and a lot of resources and a lot of time to spend with this, broken link building can be pretty time consuming. What this means, broken link building is where, let's say another website on the internet has a blog post that has a link to another website that's a 404 page or a broken page. Maybe that website that they were previously linking to, they deleted that post, or the website's no longer there, or they failed to set up a redirect if they change the page URL. But the thought process behind this is you would reach out to those brands who have the broken link, who are referencing the broken link, I should say, and proposition them to say, hey, I see that you have a broken link on your website. I've produced a piece of content that could go in place of the broken link. So that's the concept, and it can get very tedious, as I'm sure it sounds. Incorporate long form content into your blog. So long form and informative content, again, the more informative you are, whether it be like creating a case study with infographics, what have you, those are pieces of content that can be easily referenced by other brands, especially if you're producing like some sort of statistical information or statistical data. And then strategic guest blogging. So guest blogging is actually what I'd recommend highly for someone who's wanting to, I'd say, actively look for backlinking opportunities. If you just Google guest blogs for marketers or guest blogs for product, or there's a number of blogs out there and websites out there that accept guest blogs. So find opportunities for you to write for other websites that allow for you to incorporate a link to your own website, whether it be in your bio or somewhere within the blog post. And that's how you generate backlinks, through these guest blogging opportunities. So obviously it's better to have them these guest blogs on sites that are relevant to your niche and your industries that you're targeting. But just that's one of the easiest ways. And I'd say that the best ways to build your authority while also building your backlinks, your backlink volume. So brand signals. Brand signals are related to how well you're known on the internet and how often you're searched for in Google search. So how can you improve brand signals? Make sure that you're tracking your branded searches in Google Search Console, GSC, Google Search Console. For example, if you're a new brand, this is probably a very low volume and people aren't searching for you very often. But if you're a brand that's building your authority and people are searching for you, track to see a trend. Are people Googling you by name more often now? Has something happened in the news or in the space, or have you gone viral on Instagram or TikTok and you are now referenced, people are searching for you. But think about but track how often people are searching for your brand by name. Tying it, as I mentioned, with social media, brand signals related to your company's socials, as well as the mention of your company on socials. So are people tagging your company? Is your company being linked to on LinkedIn? Are people referencing accomplishment or an achievement that you had on LinkedIn, or what have you? These are brand signals that point back to your brand name and to your website that help your overall performance. And then also, I'd say consider YouTube as a channel for your business. I feel like often YouTube is overlooked by a number of individuals as a social media platform and as a content strategy. But video content is still obviously, I mean, one of the most engaged form of content. It's very easy for someone to engage with a video content versus reading materials or what have you. So think about YouTube potentially as a channel for your business. For example, I would say that, and I incorporate this with brand signals because your YouTube channel itself is not going to improve your website's SEO performance, but the mention of your brand within videos, or like views on videos that mention your brand, or views on video on your channel that mentions your brand, will help improve your brand signals. If that in comments, engagement, likes, those types of things on video content will in turn improve your brand signal, and improve your brand signals and improve your SEO. And then finally, EAT. So EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So being able to, I'd say the golden ticket is getting featured in some sort of news or media outlet. So if you have been featured in Boston Globe, New York Times, Forbes, whatever the case may be, finding opportunities to get featured in reputable news sources is like golden. That will be a huge signal to Google that you are an expert, you're an authority, and that your website is trustworthy. Having positive reviews online. So this is what I mentioned earlier. Even if you aren't a brick and mortar company or a brick and mortar store, having a Google business listing where you can collect positive reviews, or if you're a software company, having G2 Crowd or Capterra, or using any of those review software, those review platforms, having a place to collect positive reviews online is beneficial to improving your trustworthiness and authority in the eyes of Google search. So even like, for example, if you got reviews on G2 Crowd, even though that's not on your direct website, that does have an impact on your overall brand and in turn your SEO in the eyes of Google. Building up your backlink volume, which we just talked about, receiving your own award or recognition that you are mentioned for online. That's one way to improve your EAT. And then also ensure that your NAP is accurate across the internet. NAP stands for name, address, phone number. Phone number is not necessarily as relevant if you're a company that you don't have your phone number live or out in public. But the biggest thing here is just ensuring it's accurate across all platforms. So ensuring your name is spelt the same way on one place on the internet as it is on another place on the internet. If you have an address for your business, ensuring your address is accurate in one location and accurate in another location. Same with phone number, accurate in one location, accurate in another location. Again, if there's competing names or competing addresses, competing phone numbers, it just confuses the algorithm. So ensuring there's continuity between that is key. So I know that was a lot of information, and I'm hopeful that this was helpful for a lot of people. And just kind of a good starting point, especially if you're just thinking about SEO and just thinking about how I should go about SEO or optimizing my existing website. I think I saw there was a number of questions that kind of came through here at the end. So let me see here. Yes, for those who asked, this will be shared. This deck will be shared post event. So I know there's a lot of information. So you can see this after. If your heading 2 is the heading, can your next item be the paragraph of your content, or should you use H3 as the content? Great question. So the way that it works is, so with heading tags, going back to H1s, H2s, H3s, underneath each heading, you would have paragraph text. So paragraph text is what is included, like the actual content. The H1, H2, H3 tags, those are just the headings and subheadings. So if you were to do, say, for example, writing a blog, you have the blog title as H1, maybe you have an intro, that's a paragraph tag. Underneath there, you introduce a new idea with an H2 header. You introduce maybe a concept or idea with a paragraph tag. Maybe you do an H3, you have a paragraph tag, you go back to H2, for example. So paragraph would be the actual place where you include the content. And the H3, the heading tags are just for the change of topics or like subheadings within the content. Yeah. Oh, and I see that someone said the QR code didn't work. Yeah, I can. Oh, cool. Thank you, Danny. Perfect. Yeah. So hopefully this is helpful. Anybody have any other questions? I know we're right up at time, so I want to see if anybody else has any questions before we conclude.
Awesome. Well, we wait for those questions, Ryan. Thank you so much for this. It was fantastic. As a reminder for folks, we will have the recording shared with you, if not by tomorrow, by early next week. And we're incredibly grateful to Rex Marketing. You all have done some of the best SEO specific sessions we've had in a while. So thank you so much. And you've got lots and lots of love throughout the session. So share that. Click on the link if you want to have any follow-up conversations, and Rex Marketing will be back with more great content soon.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. And let me see here. Yeah. If anyone has any questions, feel free to book a call. I'll be happy to just chat and see what makes sense in terms of SEO strategy for your business. And we can kind of go from there.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.